Despite rising international pressure, the world's major oil producers are sticking to their plan to only gradually increase output. In a meeting on Thursday, OPEC and its allies said they will continue to raise oil supplies by just 400,000 barrels per day over the coming months. The US had reportedly demanded a daily increase of up to double that amount. Prices of the international benchmark Brent crude have remained above $80 per barrel since October, and economists say that's fueling inflation around the world. Mobin Nasir reports.
International oil prices are hovering near their highest level in 7 years, and commuters in many countries are feeling the pinch at the pump.
It's a really big problem because, gas prices like about $4 now. And if somebody makes about $10 an hour, it's a big problem for them to even fill up their gas tank because it's like $60, $65.
Frankly, it's too expensive, it's crazy and it's unfair.
In the UK, Lebanon, French Guyana and other countries, supplies have run so low that motorists have been forced to queue up to fill up. OPEC and its allies cut oil production in April 2020 by 9.7 million barrels per day when the coronavirus pandemic forced many economies into lockdown. In April, they began raising supplies by 400,000 barrels per day each month. That increase has failed to keep up with demand. The low supplies have driven international oil prices up from $40 a barrel to more than $80 over the past 12 months. Yet, major oil producers are reluctant to scale up production. OPEC Secretary General Hamad Barkindo says the cartel's plan is working well and markets appear balanced. But US President Joe Biden and several other world leaders are calling on oil exporting countries to raise output. Economists say high energy prices are also pushing up prices of food and other commodities.
The increase in oil price is affecting oil importing countries in addition to the increase in inflation, especially the increase in food prices. Because of the nature of the inflation, affected the low income and the vulnerable groups more than others.
While oil importing countries struggle to keep the wheels of their economies moving, OPEC and its allies are rolling in cash. Analysts say unless their competitors, like US shale oil producers, begin ramping up supplies, the cartel is unlikely to slam the brakes on rising prices. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
Well, let's get more on this now with Ellen Wald in Jacksonville, Florida. She's president of Transversal Consulting and author of the book Saudi Inc. Always good to have you back on the program, Ellen. So it looks like those growing calls for OPEC Plus to increase output have fallen on deaf ears, and that's despite calls from countries including the US, Japan and India. Why do you think the world's top oil producers are really reluctant to listen to them and increase oil supplies?
Well, right now, it really seems to come down to OPEC's assessment of where the market is headed and their desire for what they called a smooth transition or a smooth move to market equilibrium. So right now, they do see that demand is a bit higher than supply, but going into the next year, into the first and second quarters of 2022, they believe that demand and supply will come into an equilibrium. And really, we're only about 300,000 barrels a day off in the fourth quarter of 2021. So essentially, their reasoning is, we don't see a reason to suddenly jack up production and cause prices maybe to fall by quite a bit. They're definitely happy with where the prices are now, but their message was, the equilibrium is coming, supply and demand will fall into equilibrium soon. That doesn't exactly run along the lines of what some of the major banks are seeing, but they're sticking with their forecasts.
Yes, and we know Russia's energy minister has said that they're sticking to that plan of raising output by 400,000 barrels each month until the end of 2022. We know President Joe Biden has blamed their reluctance to pump more oil on the fact that energy prices are surging in the US and across the globe. So at what point do you think will OPEC Plus finally open up the taps a bit more and release more oil?
Well, I don't see them really doing that unless there's some kind of crisis or some other issue that takes out production in another area of the world. If you look at it, I know that the White House and some other consumers are blaming OPEC for this issue, but there are a lot of other factors that go into it. First of all, U.S. production is still much lower than it was pre-pandemic. They were up above 13 million barrels a day, and now they're just barely inched up to 11.5 million barrels a day, which, by the way, is more oil than Russia and Saudi Arabia will each be producing in December. So the U.S. is still producing more oil than Saudi Arabia and more oil than Russia right now. But it really doesn't seem like OPEC is in a rush to increase production too quickly. They're very concerned, I think, about sending prices down too quickly. And they also see potential resurgences of the coronavirus as an issue that they may need to contend with.
And of course, we are seeing that in Europe right now, aren't we? Ellen Wald from Transversal Consulting, really good to get your analysis. Thanks as always.